Welcome back to the Grad Centric Podcast. Today we're going to do the third of 4 episodes on planning for college and high school. So we're going to talk about the junior year in particular. So one of the main things that the students have to do in the junior year of high school to make sure that they're making good progress towards being prepared for college is to build a solid school list. Now, what does this mean? So there's many factors that we have to consider when building a school list. This is why many families engage a college consultant, one of the many reasons, but one of the main reasons why a college consultant comes in at this point in the game is to help build the college school list. The college school list is so important for a number of different reasons. So a lot of folks out there are saying, hey, diversify your investments or diversify this or diversify that. And diversification has a lot of benefits and perks. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's one example that I can point to. You hear that out there in society quite often. So similarly, building a diverse school list is very important in terms of essentially preparing for the financial aid letter, which I've done other episodes and other blog posts on the financial aid letter. But if you put your schools in the right categories or the right buckets, then you get a better chance of getting a good range of financial aid letters when financial aid comes further down in the senior year. And we'll talk about the senior year in the next episode. So what are those buckets? So I tend to ask students to create a list of 8 to 10 schools, potential schools to go to college. And these are the schools that they're going to eventually apply to when it comes to the senior year. And those 8 to 10 or 12 schools should fall in 3 buckets. So those 3 buckets are safe schools. These are schools that are an affordable option for the family, that are a good backfall plan in many respects. Then we have the match schools. These are the schools that students feel an affinity for, that they've done the research. It offers the major that they're wanting. It fits all the criteria, whether it be public or private school, the location, the type of academic offerings, sports offered, many categories that we can look at in terms of trying to find a good fit for college, but those go in the match category. And then finally, we have reach schools, which is the third bucket. And this one is really important because it can upgrade your students' experience when it comes to college. It can certainly upgrade the pedigree. It can upgrade the financial aid offered. So many reasons why we use the reach category. But those 8 to 12 schools should be spread across those 3 categories or those 3 buckets. So those are the different categories of schools that I like to see in a list. Now, there's so many other things that go into building a solid school list beyond these 3 buckets. So ones that come to mind are generosity of financial aid. So a lot of times a college consultant is looking at the level of generosity in giving aid to the student population. There's also peer matches for financial aid appeals, and a lot of people don't consider this at all. But when it comes to appealing your financial aid package down the line, schools like to see peer institutions. So you can say, hey, here's your peer, school A. School B gave us X amount of dollars. You only gave us this amount. Please match that or bring our aid offer up. Well, if you don't have peer institutions, like if you're trying to compare an Ivy League school to a state school, it's not an apples to apples comparison. Schools don't take it as seriously. So that's a second thing, is peer match. And then also just where the student fits within the incoming class profile, or at least the average or historic class profile. That's something that a lot of families don't consider as well. So lots of factors involved in building a solid school list, but that's one of the things that juniors have to do at this point in the process. The next is, once that list is solidified, then creating a deadlines calendar. And the deadline should cover admissions deadlines, financial aid deadlines, and then obviously some other kind of collective deadlines that are important. So this might be early decision, early action might be important, but there's also testing as well. And so you want to make sure that deadlines in terms of ACT, SAT, or other testing requirements that the school has, that those are also. So tests also on your deadlines list. So testing, admissions, and financial aid are the three types of dates that you need to have. Now, how can parents help their kids at this point? So when we're building a school list, one of the best ways to figure out fit is to go and actually visit the school itself in a campus visit. And I've done a blog post on campus visits. I've created some checklists and some questions to ask when it comes to campus visits, so make sure to check that out and to download those. But that's where parents can come in particular and say, son or daughter, I want to help you with some of the logistics and figuring out the travel plans. That's one way that families and parents in particular can be involved in this process. The second is test preparation. So another thing that juniors need to figure out is to start test preparation in junior year of high school. And actually, in many respects, it should start in the sophomore year. But let's say you're just coming to the game, you're starting to engage the ACT or the SAT. So you're going to start with test preparation. Now, I like to tell families a lot of times when it comes to test prep, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a paid solution. That might be a good fit for some families. But what I like to see for a paid solution is that you're on the cusp of a greater scholarship offer in terms of, you have a 28 ACT. If you get to 29, you're going to get more money. That's one thing that I like to see. High potential in the student, of course, but wanting to look to find that ROI, that return on investment when it comes to a paid solution. For those that may not be at the cusp of that return on investment, where you're going to give $2,000 to a test prep provider, maybe get $10,000 or $20,000 back, that's a great return. For those families, we really start with free options. So there are lots of free options with the local libraries, free test prep. A lot of high schools have it built into the curriculum that you can take it as an elective. There's also some low-cost options, for instance, going and buying a book from the local bookstore and working through that. A lot of these are self-study, but the free is really nice, and getting that initial prep before you go pay a lot for a solution can be really helpful for many families. So that's what the student needs to figure out, is the school list, the deadlines calendar, test preparation. Parents can come alongside them when it comes to campus visits and making sure that the logistics are figured out there, and then also figuring out how willing they are to invest in test prep. Do we want to get a paid solution? Do we want to try free solutions? So that's a pretty good overview of the junior year of high school. Hopefully this has been helpful. Looking forward to the next episode, which is going to cover the senior year, and we'll see you then.